Hello students in Comp 5062 and welcome to week 7. This week will involve a review for the concepts that will be on the test and then the actual test in your second 2-hour class. So please be aware of that. I will be conducting a very similar review to this in all 3 sections or however many sections I have running this semester. If you're in the online course, you're definitely going to want to pay attention in this review because this will resemble the full lecture that I'm giving my live sections. So we have been doing WordPress since week 4. Anything that's come up since week 4 going into the beginning of week 7, because there were a few things trailing into the latter part of the week 6 video that I'll also cover in this test prep video that actually haven't been covered yet. So this entire video is not all review. There's a few kind of new things on here that you guys probably would have been able to figure out, but they're in the video anyway. And if you were in class, I covered them in class, but I would still watch the video again just for studying purposes. So let's get going on this. As I mentioned, anything is fair game that we've covered weeks 4 through 6 and trailing into week 7. However, I have given you a specific item by item list here in the file at the top of the week 7 content. So even if you're in the online version, their content might look a little bit different, but you should all have this file there. You would click on it, and I would ask now that you pause the video and take a moment to read this. Okay, thank you for doing that. I'm assuming you've all gone in FOL and read through the file. I didn't have it up on the screen for you to read. I wanted you to go into FOL and review the entire file. A couple things to quickly note before we start the review here. This is a 20% test. I have built-in mechanisms in this test for me to tell very, very easily if a student from one section is sharing files with a student from another section. I'm not going to tell you guys where this stuff is hidden. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of files in every WordPress install, so it would pretty much be impossible for you to figure out the little thing I've done to make sure that I know which files are which. And I also have this really cool program that will scan files in a common folder for identical file signature information. So whenever you make a file on your computer, it gets sort of a serial code put onto it. And it's very, very difficult unless you're quite good at IT to get rid of that code. And if you're in the same section and you start passing around screenshots or something, for example, or files from your site or something like that, I will know, and you will both go down to the office for an academic offense. Not just because it's not going to be easy for me to figure out. Well, I'll be able to tell whose file it was originally, but you're still both going to be flagged for cheating. So please do not share files. Please do not think there's any benefit to getting the instructions from another section. I mean, everything you're going to be asked to do on the test is here. It's right here. You just have to do it in the class to show me that you can do it yourself in the amount of time I'm giving you. So it's not like there's no surprises here, guys. This is exactly what I'm asking you to do for the test. So I know I have sections. It depends on the semester, but I probably won't have all my sections testing on the same day. Please don't test me, okay? I will catch you. All right, and even if you do, I guarantee there's no benefit to it because every individual WordPress site that you set up will have personal custom information in it, and there'd just be no benefit to you doing this, and you won't have access to the files you need to use from your specific section until the moment the test begins and they're released on FOL. So I just wanted to start this video off spending a few minutes talking about how easily I can catch cheaters. It's really important you guys are aware of that. Okay, so let's do this review, and I want to try and keep this within 25, the whole video within 25 minutes, so the review I want to keep under 20. We'll start by talking about XAMPP. We spent a lot of time on this. Everything I'm going to talk about here has already been covered in class, and there are videos associated with these topics posted in FOL. Everything is there. Also, before I start, if you notice now on your course homepage, and I may have had this up since the beginning of the term, but I've probably moved these things around a bit. You have a playlist that's specific to the stuff we've been doing in WordPress. So again, I want to make it clear we're covering weeks 3 through 7 here on the test. We're not going to be doing things, we've done a little bit of CSS editing, and we're going to get more into that after the test. We're going to get more into blogging and doing things like that. The test will mainly be about the processes, okay? It's very little of it. You're not doing any optimizing yet. This is all post-test skills. These are all post-test skills. So if you want to go in and start looking at the videos, you would focus on weeks, you'd focus on like the first 5 videos there, which is weeks 4 through 7. And the videos are individually linked in content as well. So let's go back to the list and let's start. Number one thing, and keep in mind, Mac users, that I'm on my PC showing this to you, so I always try and give you a heads up when it looks a little different. And this is one of those situations. First thing you need to do is have XAMPP running. So depending on your computer, you may or may not have the services running. Okay, my computer turns them off every time I restart my machine, which means, as you see here, none of my services are running. So if I go here in my browser to localhost, which you should all be comfortable with, that's how we get to our main XAMPP platform to make changes to things, add databases, that kind of stuff. Nothing will come up. This is not a reason for any of you to get excited on the test, to start worrying or getting upset. Most of your machines, I've noticed, are turning the services off. So on a PC, very, very simple. Get the control panel up. So I had already had mine open. Yours would be in Programs in the XAMPP folder, unless you did follow my lead and throw it into, so right there, unless you did follow my lead and throw it into your start menu like I did here. So you need the control panel opened up, and you hit start, 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 and as soon as your services turn green, the local host here will run. So, and that's just taking a moment, but you can see, assuming they were green yesterday or the day before, there should be absolutely no reason these shouldn't turn green unless you've started Skype while XAMPP was running and left Skype running. Skype will bump XAMPP off port 80 and Skype will take over. Skype has a priority. And I believe the same thing would happen on your Macs. So if you know it's been working for like 3 weeks and all of a sudden, right at the beginning of the test, it's not working, it's because Skype is running. That would be the most likely scenario, because it's your job to get this working. I'm telling you this stuff now. On a Mac, it does look a little different, as you know, so I'll go and review that one more time. So let's jump through these slides quickly. If you're on a PC, you can fast forward through the next minute or so. So I borrowed these slides from week 4. That's when we first realized that things look a little different when you're installing XAMPP on the Mac. So if your servers / services, whatever, I refer to them as the same thing, if they aren't running and you're on a Mac, you would go back to the Manage Services window, or the Manage window. It's just, this is your control panel on a Mac. It looks like this. And the way you get back to that is by going to this little icon here. I keep talking about the icon, but I actually have never included it in one of my videos, so I finally got one of my students on a Mac to send me a picture of it. That's what it looks like. And it is in the main XAMPP folder in Applications. I know when you search for XAMPP on your Mac, a bunch of folders come up, and that's because there are multiple XAMPP folders inside the XAMPP folder. So you want the one that starts with all capital letters, not starts with, but is all capital letters. So it's XAMPP like that, all capitals. And as soon as you go in there, you should see this little icon. You click on it and it brings up this window. Once that window's up, you go to the middle tab, Manage Servers, and you start them all till they turn green, and you're ready to go, just like those of us on a PC. Again, if they don't work, it's because of Skype or some other program you have started that would prevent them from working. None of you are allowed to ask me about this during a test. I'm just not permitting it. I'm sorry, because part of the test is having the knowledge to get that working. So that was step number 1, and I showed you on a PC and a Mac how to get this running. I started my services, things are working great. So PC, Mac, as soon as you get this window up, you're going to go to PHP My Admin, both of you, okay? Mac or PC, doesn't matter. And you're going to go to Databases. So where we are right here is we're creating a new database. So we are not just going to take what we've been doing in the WordPress root directory. So right now our website is in a folder called WordPress. We're going to set up a new one. And because we're setting up a new one, we're also going to set up a new database and connect this new WordPress install to that. So I'm going to tell you exactly what to call the database. I'm just going to call it test in the video, but whatever I tell you to call it, if there's numbers in it, characters, whatever it is, you type in exactly that, okay? I might, maybe WordPress test section 1. Let's pretend in this video we're in section 1. So anytime I use a section number, you need to bear in mind that when you take the test, I will give you the instructions to put the proper number in there. Okay, you would replace that with your section number. So following that, you would choose the same setting you picked on the original one we did in class, which is UFT8 General for the collation. So I'm going to go in here and find that. Okay, there it is right there. Oops, I went right past it. How did I manage to do that? UFT8 General. And then create, and make sure, take another second look and make sure that you've typed that properly. Hit create and you're rocking and rolling. At this point, I will ask you to take a screenshot. So this is another one of those kind of basic PC Mac skills that I kind of assume everybody has, but I'm not going to just leave you in the dark in case you don't know how to do this. So during the test, when you get to this point, I will indicate to you that inside of FOL, I've left instructions on how to take screenshots in Windows and on a Mac. Okay, and to demonstrate this in this video, I'm going to do a quick one on a PC, and then throughout the rest of the test, you'll be asked to take more screenshots. I'll probably forget where that is, but just I'm going to show you at least one, so you know when you're going through the test, you're going to be asked to take multiple screenshots. So what I want to see here, so I don't have to go in and check it, is a screenshot of the name of the database you made and the collation that you picked, which should be proper UFT8 General CI. So in Windows, there's usually a combination of keys on your keyboard, and I'd rather you didn't use that because you can't custom size the screen area, and it's a bit harder to save the file too. So in Windows, I'd prefer to use the Snipping Tool. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is make a folder, and the instructions will walk you through all of this. Okay, the instructions, however, will not tell you go to this part of the XAMPP, the XAMPP admin panel in the browser, click on databases. I'm just going to say make a new database by this name with this collation. You need to know that I won't be that specific because I do expect you to know how to do some of this stuff. I'm going to say make a folder, however you're going to name it. The names in this video are not going to be exact as they are on the test. I'm just using this as an example. And inside that folder, you're going to start putting screenshots. So in Windows, you have something called the Snipping Tool. Now I have mine on my taskbar because I use it that often. You probably don't, so if you wanted to go pull it up, it's in Accessories, right there. I think an even faster way, if you're in Windows 8 or 7, either one, is just to search the word snip and it'll just come up. So once it comes up, just double click it, and then you've got your snipping tool here, okay? As soon as you click it, it's going to want you to do a snip. Just hit cancel so you can pull the window back up that you want to actually do a screenshot of. And then pull the snipping tool back up, hit new to make a new snip, take your mouse, literally just drag and unclick. And you've made a slick little screenshot that you can either file save or just right click and save as and put it right into the folder you just made for your screenshots, which mine is defaulting to because I've already demoed this once. So you would go, I don't know where yours is going to be. Mine is on my desktop, screenshots, and you name it the name that I tell you to name it. So it might be your last name, screen one, or something like that. The instructions will guide you through all those little details. And file names will be important on this test. I will mark you down some points if you don't name files properly. It's very important that you pay attention to that. So put it in there, and that's the only one I'm going to demo, but throughout the test you will have to do some screenshots. If you're on a Mac, the ideal way to do it, if you go in here to the instructions I've posted, would be Command-Shift-4. Okay, because Command-Shift-4 will allow you to do it the same way we just did on a PC, where you can actually take your mouse and size up the window exactly how you want it to be sized. And whenever I do ask you to do a screenshot, I'll give you a sample so you know about what I want it to look like. If you end up having to take the whole screen, that is totally fine. I'm not going to mark you down for that. I just prefer the files were simpler and easier to read. And it's that way when you do the resizing thing. Because older Macs, I think you can't do Command-Shift-4. Only Command-Shift-3 works, which takes the whole screen. And then you would put it into the folder. Command-Shift-4 is better when you do it. Similar to a PC, I think you just Command-click on the screenshot and then you can save it somewhere. And that would be the folder that I told you to create. So keep in mind you will have to do screenshots on the test. It's a basic computing skill. It's not a big deal. But I did list it here in this list of stuff. So now, basic file management. You should be able to unzip a folder because your next step will be to go and grab the WordPress install, like the WordPress root directory that I've set up for you specific to the test. It is not the same as the one you get from wordpress.org/download, nor will any of you go there during the test. I have customized some data in here, not to just curb cheating, but to simplify the setup a little bit too. Just simplify what's in there. I've taken all the extra themes out, so there's not extra stuff in there. It's not what you get from WordPress.org. You are downloading it from FOL, and the instructions will be clear about that. So you would go back to FOL, and under week 7, your files will appear here when it's your test time, and only each section will be able to see it. So I've already downloaded mine. So we're going to be in section 1. So here it is. I downloaded it, and it's still zipped. Remember on a Mac that you might download it, it might be unzipped automatically. Wherever or however it does, it's probably sitting in downloads. And what you need to do is inside of the zipped up folder, wait, that's the theme thing. I'm not doing that yet. Inside of the zipped up folder, so this is the test folder you're going to get, and it'll be labeled that way. You're going to have a folder named section whatever. We're pretending we're in section 1 in this video. You need to extract this and get this folder into htdocs, because as you know from the install that we did several times in every section, once you get the WordPress root directory unzipped, you put it into htdocs. So let's go ahead and unzip this. On a Mac, you would unarchive, or I can't really show you guys this on the Mac, but I know most people using Macs are comfortable with zipping and unzipping. So once it's unzipped, you obviously don't take the folder that says unzip me on the folder. You go inside of it and you get this folder. And most of your Macs will get you right to this folder anyway. Now, just in case you run into an issue, I would make a copy of it and put it over in htdocs as opposed to cutting it, because you might need a fresh version of it in case you screw up here in the next couple steps. So make a copy of it and then go to the C drive XAMPP. In your Mac, you would go to Applications and find the XAMPP folder that has all capital letters. And I know in your Mac, when you go to that folder, you see way less stuff in it. It's the right folder, trust me. Get into htdocs, and you'll see your WordPress site right there. Okay, I want you to paste this one, this new one called Section 1. Okay, now at this point, on your Mac, I did notice people with Macs, for some reason, they would go into htdocs and they'd have another folder in here called XAMPP files, not just XAMPP. And when you went in there, they had another htdocs. I don't know what was going on there. I only saw that on a couple computers. Bottom line, you need to get to the main XAMPP folder, which on a PC is in your C drive. On a Mac, it's the one, the upper level one in Applications that starts with all capital letters. Go into the htdocs, right in that folder, and paste the directory into there. Okay, now, and this is going to seem a bit odd because I know you've been working on this for weeks. This is your WordPress directory for the one we've been working on in class. All it is a folder. So technically, it's named WordPress because that's what WordPress named it, and you downloaded it from WordPress directly. That's not what these folders can be named anything you want. Typically, they're named after the content of the website. I want you to take this and cut it and throw it on your desktop or in Documents. Just move it out of the htdocs folder temporarily for your tests so that you cannot make the mistake of going in and editing that one. It's just, and I'm going to ask you to take another screenshot right here of your folder window to show me that you took it out of there, because I do not want it left in there. Because of course, while we're doing this, in the middle of the setup, you could very easily go to localhost/WordPress and get right into your site and log in there and do all this stuff to the wrong site. Of course, I've removed my folder temporarily so it can't find it. I want you guys to do this, and I want you to take a screenshot of that and show me that it doesn't work. As soon as you drop it, but don't mess around with anything in this folder. Don't like alter any of the files. As soon as you drop it back in at the end of the test, it'll work again. Okay? You should only have this one in there now, which is the new one. And your next step would be to go into here, open up the wp-config sample file, just like we did in lecture, and set it up with the new database name you made for this test, the root user with no password, and then save it as wp-config instead of -sample. And then you'll be able to go in your new into your new site by going localhost section 1. Okay, it's that simple. And this is, maybe even this video is finally helping you to understand that the WordPress install is just a folder like a website, just like our steps or our MyPP was in the web workshop. But because it's a PHP site, it does need to be run by a database, and that's what the config file is all about. So go in there, wp-config, open up TextEdit, Notepad++, which you should have. You can also do it in Dreamweaver. I just think it's annoying because it takes way longer to open. This is the name of the database that I told you to create back in the previous step. So when we go back here, we go to localhost, I can go and check and confirm it is WP. Now I have an S in there, which really, whatever. That's what I named it for this, okay? So you take the exact name of that database. You can even copy it right out of there, but you can't have typos in there. You have to name it exactly how I tell you to name it. You put that database into database name, okay? And then your username is just like it was in class for our demo site, root with no password. And you get rid of the password. If I went too fast, just rewind it and watch it again. Okay, and again, this could be anything on the test. I just put some random stuff in there. It doesn't matter what it is. It just has to match what you did in the previous step. So if the previous step told you to name your database Kangaroo, then your database name here better be Kangaroo, typed exactly the same way with no capital letters. Okay, if you have a typo, I'm going to talk about what that does in a second here. But I don't. I have everything set up properly. And now, very quickly, if you can fast forward 30 seconds if you're not on a Mac, but if you're on a Mac, just to make sure you avoid having to deal with the WordPress platform asking you for your password and stuff when you go to do the plugin. You can add that code that we learned about in class. So, and of course, I'm not leaving you guys hanging, Mac users. I don't want you to have to go scrolling through the notes to try and find these codes. So I have a special link for you in week 7 where you can go and grab. So the first fix here, we're going to grab, copy it, stick it at the bottom of htdocs. And we could put a line there just to space it out a bit. And then we're going to save our file. So those of you on a PC would have just skipped that step. You don't really need to do it. You could do it. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to make any difference. But go save as. Don't change folders. Put it in the same exact folder you're already in. And simply get rid of the dash sample. You're going to save it as wp-config.php. And on the test, I will not tell you that. I will say, go in and configure the WordPress website section, whatever you're in, to connect to the database you just created. Do it, okay? And you're going to need to know that you got to use the wp-config sample file and then resave it as wp-config. Save it. As soon as you do that, just like that glorious moment we had in class when everything worked, we should be able to go to localhost/section1, and you should get this screen. If you're on a Mac, it might skip right past this screen and take you to the next one, okay? If at this point you do something wrong, like I just did on purpose, all right, you need to reset the configuration items. You may try installing now. This is what happens if you set up a database that isn't typed correctly. And I did this, like I meant to do this because I already had a wp-config file in there. That's the easiest way to recreate this issue. You wouldn't get to the setup screen. You get to something like this, okay? So very quickly, I'm going to show you the easiest way to fix this. All right, don't even try and go back and edit the stuff you already have. Go in here, delete WP here. No, I'm not even. Close it up in the browser, okay? Go here, drop the database, just get rid of it. Okay, this means you might have to make another screenshot, whatever. I'm trying to help you guys troubleshoot during the test because I will not answer questions about this. Okay, go back and create a new database. WP test S1, whatever. Let's pretend this was in the front, and I just had a typo, and that was the reason none of it worked out. So it's S1 WP test. And then I hit create, and then I take my screenshot. I've made a brand new database. Go into htdocs and delete the entire section 1 folder. Just remove it. Get it right out of there, okay? And just redo those steps. And when you do, everything should be fine. Okay, because what happened there is you either had an inconsistency between what you named the database and what you typed into the database name, or you just forgot to make the database. So it tries to go and find a database. It says, nope, I can't find it. I'm seeing some other wp-config file. You're getting some kind of weird error. Just do it over again, okay? Because I'm not going to fix it for you. Okay, so I'm going to do that very quickly now without sucking up a lot of time in the video. We go in here. We still have a fresh copy of section 1. Remember I told you not to mess with that. And we go and drop it into here, which is htdocs. Okay, I grab wp-config sample. Oops, I still have the other one open. I grab wp-config sample. I go in. I put the database name in, which was S1 WP test. This is root. I clear out the password. If I'm on a Mac, I add that code to the bottom. If I'm on a PC, I can go ahead and save as. I take out the dash sample. I've got wp-config.php. I close the file, I close the window, I go here. This time around, everything should be fine. Okay. We get here, it's English, we hit continue, and we're good to go. So I had deliberately made a quick mistake there to show you guys the easiest way to fix it. If you don't get to this screen, and again on a Mac it might take you directly to this screen, the easiest way to fix it, delete your database and delete the entire section number folder, which is your root directory for your website, and just do it over. And how long did that take me? I mean, come on. So then for the site title, I'll probably have you put your name in there, and then it's auto-completing because I've already done this demo a couple times. And then I'll give you like an extended title that has to do with what the site is about. I'm going to ask you to talk a bit about Web 2.0. That's going to be one of the other things you should have a bit of knowledge of, but it's all in FOL content, and the test is open web, open everything, so it's not a big deal. For your username, I'll give you a username probably that is that simple, section 1, and everyone will have the same exact username, and everyone will have a password that's something as simple as like test, literally a 4-letter word, because I need you guys to all have a generic username and password so that I am able to access your test. If I'm not able to, that's a big part of the test. You'll be graded on the screenshots alone. You'll probably still pass, but I'm not going to like send it back to you and be like, oh, let's correct this or whatever. That is part of the test. So if you don't put in the proper username and password and you're not paying attention to your typing, you're going to lose a lot of points. So make sure I can access your files, okay? And then here, you would put your FOL email and then you'd install WordPress. So from that point, let's check in and see where we are in our list. So yes, go ahead, log in. Section 1, it may not have auto-completed your password because I've already done this a couple times, so you would know that your password was as simple as that 4-letter word I gave you. And you're rocking and rolling in WordPress, and you're running the 2014 theme, which is the one we've been doing in class. I was going to make you switch themes, but I thought that'd be more fair to just keep you on the same theme. Now, you're still going to have to do some work with themes here really quick, but where are we? So now, and of course, I'm not going to make this in 25 minutes, but I might pull off a little over a half an hour. So we've done all this stuff, okay? And I even helped you troubleshoot what to do if for some reason something doesn't work when you go to access the root directory. And that's how you initially get WordPress running, is once you get everything set up, which is you've created a database and then you've edited your WP config file, you would go and try and access the directory. Now that I've set it up, it'll show me what my page looks like. For you guys, it should take you to that setup screen. If it doesn't, you gotta just redo the stuff. Just get rid of everything you did and redo it. Okay, so back to the dashboard. And I tried to, in the last week, start to teach you to go back and forth from the live site to the dashboard by doing it this way. It's just the easiest way to do it. So let's get into the dashboard. Right off the bat, I'll have you go to settings and do some stuff in general settings, because we did that at the beginning. I'll have you change this. I'll have you change a couple more things down here, and then you'll save the changes. Okay, so as you can see now that I'm into WordPress, I'm not going to demo every single thing I'm asking you to do, okay, in the video. It'll just make it too long. I'm going to show you the things you're going to be expected to do, and then if you want to go practice them, you can. So that was just a quick blah, 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 blah. Okay, posts. I'm going to ask you to probably either get rid of this post or edit it and make like at least 3 posts, okay? And they'd be posts on something to do with Web 2.0. So I'm going to pause and quickly make a couple. So you would go add new post, and then you create the post. And there's no fancy settings or anything you're going to have to do here. Okay, so I cranked out a few posts here, which you guys should be able to do after all the lectures we've gone through these things. You would make some posts. Like if I view what, like I might ask you to put a link in one of them, for example. So if I view this one, we talked about this site in class. You'd be able to go to it, and it was an absolute link, like an external, so it opens up as a new window, which you can very easily do when you're creating hyperlinks. This has all been covered in previous lectures, so let's go back to the main site. Now, before I get into pages, I don't want to do this completely out of order, because I have you do this stuff right away at the beginning, in case, especially for the Mac users, in case they need to do that terminal thing, because I want that out of the way. And those are more points that you can get via screenshots without even having me be able to access your WordPress site. So even if I can't open your site, you could still get these points if I see the screenshots. Now, most of the people aren't going to get the screenshots either if they don't even know how to get the site working for me. But either way, before I jump to pages, let's go and do the activate a theme thing. So this is different than we did in class. So right now, I have this site set up with one theme in it, and that's the one that's running, and it's the 2014 theme. I want you to show me with screenshots that you can put a new theme in, activate it, and then delete it and go back to the 2014 theme. So this will involve like 3 or 4 screenshots when you're doing it. And how you're going to do it is by and once again, this is to kind of curb sharing stuff and whatever. There's going to be another file in FOL in your section area that will be a theme. Okay, it'll look like this, section 1 unzip theme. So you will go here, you will extract it, or your Mac will do it for you, and there'll be a folder with the name of a theme. Okay, so this, and I showed you this in class. I showed you where your themes are sitting and how when you install a theme in WordPress, it automatically shows up there. If you download a theme from an external site, it'll just come as a folder. You could do the same thing. Now make sure it's not an entire WordPress install. This is strictly just a theme, and that's what you're going to be getting on the test. So you can take this folder, and you can cut this one. You don't need to save a fresh copy of it. Go into the htdocs folder and into your root directory for this site, section 1, and whatever, again, that may differ depending on your section, but go to WP Content and go to Themes. Right now, this is the only theme that's running. That's all you have in there. Simply paste that folder in there. I will give you a bit of guidance for this, but I will expect that you will have watched the test review to see how to do it. So I don't want to give too much away. I mean, I think this test is already quite simple if you've practiced this stuff. So once the theme is in, you're going to go here and you're going to go to Themes. And when it refreshes, you're going to see, hey, cool, I got a new theme in there, literally from just putting a folder in Themes. Now, obviously, there's a lot to that theme inside the folder that makes WordPress recognize it immediately. But you would activate it, go to visit the site, and take a screenshot showing me that this theme is activated. Then you would go back to the dashboard. Okay. You would reactivate the 2014 theme. You would take a screenshot showing me that you did at one point have all these themes in here. So you take and I'll show you the samples of the screenshots. And then as a further step, because this is one of the things we learned in class too, you would click on the theme details and remove the theme. So you're literally going to put a theme in, show me that you made the theme work, reactivate the other one, and then delete this one. Just because that's part of what we've learned here. It's about the processes right now. We're not about getting into the themes and totally customizing them. That's what we're going to do after the test. I just need to make sure that you're all at this point. And then you'd probably take one more screenshot. This one will involve several screenshots because I want to know that you're actually doing these things. And that way I don't have to, there's no way I could grade that otherwise, right? So you will also be asked to do a plugin, okay? And because I think it's a good one, I'm going to have you do the SEO plugin. We don't need the, well, I did put some information on that tiny MCE plugin at the beginning of the week 6 video that I'd like everyone to see. But for right now, we're not going to be dealing with that till after the test. Let's do all-in-one SEO. You'd grab the plugin. Okay, oops, yeah, why am I doing that? Okay, don't search your installed plugins. You need to add a new one. All-in-one SEO. You'd grab the plugin and put it in. Now, if you're on a Mac, you should have been able to do that theme thing actually without any worry because you were directly putting it into the folder on a Mac. Now, on a Mac with a plugin install, you're probably going to hit install now, click OK, and it's going to look like it's going to be all right. But about half of you, and not all of you, when you did this, you got that could not create the directory thing. So same protocol as we did when we had the directory set up in class. You're going to have the other codes here in the same area, Mac user codes, and you're going to have to make these changes to your terminal. Okay, so whatever section you're in, that folder will be a little different, okay? And you're going to have to go and deal with that here in the terminal with these codes. All right, so just be aware of that, Mac users. You will have an extra 3 or 4 minutes there to deal with that. And I mean, I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. You were told upon applying for this program that you did need a computer that was running Windows. Even if it was a Mac, it needed to run Windows. I've managed to troubleshoot this because I want you guys to still be able to use your Macs because I know the environment is better. But you don't really have a lot of, you don't really have grounds to complain on because you were kind of warned about this ahead of time. But we're making it work, okay? Everything's going to be fine, and you just add those codes in. So get back off the database site here. So once the plugin is installed, and Mac users, you might have had to do a little bit extra there. You activate the plugin. You could do it right from here or from installed plugins. And then you'd take a screenshot to show me that it's in your dashboard. Once again, you'd get credit for this without me getting into your site if that did occur, that disaster, okay? But hopefully that's not the case. Okay, so that was the plugin. And we're running a little over a half an hour here, but we are almost done. So back to the list. We've done the plugin, we've done the theme, and keep in mind we did that theme manually, and then we removed the theme, and then have a little knowledge of this stuff. I know I told you guys I don't test you on this stuff, but it just seemed like a really good, instead of having you do like a website about yourself and your personal experiences, it just seemed like a good topic for you to focus on, so you don't have to go looking around for content and stuff. So there will be points in the test where you'll be asked to put an image in somewhere, you'll be asked to put in a YouTube video, you'll be asked to do all those things we've covered in class and in the previous lectures. Okay, and you just need to be aware that you need to make those pages. Now I am going to help you with the menu stuff, which we just kind of snuck in there at the end of week 6 to make sure you're comfortable with that. So your next step, because we already did the post, we kind of skipped ahead on that, would be to crank out some pages. So I'm going to go to pages, and I'm just going to quickly create some sort of blank versions of the pages you'd be asked to create, or something like it. They're not going to be identical. So you'd go here. You might get rid of the sample page. You might not use it. This thing has been added in from the SEO plugin, so don't worry about that. I would move that to the trash, and then you can just start from scratch making new pages. So we're going to have one called Home, okay, and that's going to be used as the home page. And I might ask you to put a YouTube video in there. And again, I'm going to prefer that you do it the raw way, where you go and get the code from the embed section of the YouTube video and put it right into the raw text. One of the students pointed out you can also do it from here. You could just insert the link to the video and it will embed it for you. However, you can't resize it if you do it that way. So the way I showed you in the week 6 video is the way you want to do it. And I know this is the test review, but I don't want to include everything in here over again. So if I'm saying you're going to have to do stuff that you don't know how to do yet, you're going to have to shoot back to the videos I'm referencing to watch it. Okay, so I do the YouTube video in week 6. So you publish that. I'm going to make a bunch of pages now while I'm paused here. I might ask you too, when you're doing the pages, to disable comments, but I'm noticing this SEO pack keeps taking those away. So when you make a new page here, let's go to add one more new one. When you set up to make a new page and you're in the 2014 theme, so yeah, it does get rid of it. So it's automatically dealt with that already. So there shouldn't be anything on there about turning comments on or off. I'm not going to worry about that before the test. So you'll just have to make some more pages. So this next one will be blog, and it'll have. So I'm going to pause now while I'm making my pages. Okay, so I've got 7 pages made, and that's what each section is going to be asked to make. They're probably going to be different for each section, the pages, and I'll probably ask you to put different stuff. Well, actually, they'll be pretty close to the same, but what I mean is that not each section, but each student will be asked to put stuff in there that will somehow be directly connected back to them. That way, there'd be no excuse for anybody having identical content. So each site will have the same navigation links, like the same menu, but it'll have different content in the pages. So once you get these created, you probably remember what I showed you. As soon as you have more than one page, like I want privacy and I want copyright to be children of policies. And I showed you in class how you can easily just go and set that in here. But then I also demonstrated to you that, particularly with the 2014 theme, that you don't have, like, if you do this, it's only going to be adjusting it according to the default menu. So don't do that, okay? Don't go in here and change this around in there. As soon as you finish the pages and put all the content in, I'm going to ask you to deal with this menu. Because what the 2014 theme does is it automatically, you can see it's put the menu items in alphabetical order, and it doesn't have any of the ones as children that I want to be children or whatever. So I need to go in here, and don't try and manually set that. That's like the auto menu that it's done. Go into Appearance and go to Menus. And this was the end of week 6, nearing the end of week 6 where you did this. So most themes, as soon as you get out of this theme and you start working with your own custom themes or whatever theme you're going to be using for your project, you're going to notice they usually come with a menu. And you can drag and drop and move the things around, just like I did in week 6. The 2014 theme doesn't come with a menu. So what it's doing here is it's automatically generating this menu for you. So once you get your pages made, then you go into Menu, and that's where you adjust things. And in order to do this, because this one doesn't actually come with a menu, it just automatically does it for you, you need to create a menu first. And most themes aren't like that. Most themes have a menu already created. So you could call this Main, or whatever I tell you to call it, create it, and once it's created, you can select all, highlight all the pages, and add them to the menu. Even more important, before you go start changing the settings around, you want to change this to be the top primary menu so it goes over that automatic menu it created for you. And that way, you're not limited by the order it's put in, like alphabetical order, and you can do your the subsidiary links, like the children links to the parents and all that stuff. So check that box and move this around. I want my home page first. And you know, a lot of sites these days, they don't even have a home page, but you know, I think it just for the purpose of the test, it's an obvious one we can do. I want my blog to be second, not a sub item. So you can see you don't have to necessarily go in here and move it underneath the stuff. You can do it with your mouse. So I want this to be out there. So there. Media is fine where it is. Privacy I'm going to have at the end. Oh, it's already there. Okay, so the rest of these are fine. So they might have come up, and these are not the same exact pages I might ask you to do on the test. These are just the ones I'm using in this example. Copyright and policies I want to be underneath privacy, and they are. So you can either do this, you can click here and put it under privacy that way, or even easier, you can simply take it with your mouse and just shove it over a bit, and when you do that, it knows that you want it underneath privacy. See, so it's put it under there. And to have this underneath there, it has to be literally, physically sitting under that. So if copyright was sitting under media, you can't just choose to put it under privacy from that location. You have to go and move it down. So it's very user-friendly, very simple. You just have to remember, as I taught you in class with the 2014 theme, and this may happen with other themes too, you need to make a menu, put your pages into it, and then you can customize, okay, as opposed to just accepting the default menu. So as soon as you save that, and assuming you did remember indeed to check top primary menu, when you go back to visit the site, kaboom, you've got your menu all set up, and this one has 2 drop downs. Another thing, and this we did at the end of the last lecture, that is important to me because I want you guys to control how your site is set up in terms of what's streaming through it and what goes on there on the main page. Every WordPress site, almost everyone, is set up to have the posts automatically apply to the main page. And actually, in fact, this one, the posts are the main page. I want my home page to be the main page, and I want my posts to always go to blog. There are a couple places you can do this, as I showed you in week 6, but the place I want you to do it, which is the best place, is in Settings, Reading. Okay, so in Settings and Reading, you can change your front page, to be a static page, and choose that to be the home page. And you can also just leave your post and make it not have a blog component, but I think it's a beneficial thing to have on websites, so you can set your post to go to blog. And then you can go down and save that. So now, when I go to visit site, and this is my home page, and that's where I said I might ask you to put a YouTube video in here. And if you go to blog, your blog posts are there, and I just put some lorem ipsum in there. And again, I'm not going to worry about that comment thing because there's a bit of funky stuff that you lose the ability to turn it on and off in the regular pages panel. There's another place where you can turn it off, but as soon as you install the SEO all-in-one plugin, it goes away. So I'm probably going to take that out of the test, so you don't have to worry about that. So that's pretty much the test. I mean, I've taken a long time to explain all this and walk you through it, but you could definitely do this in less than an hour. So once the pages are done, I do have you go in and just play around with the widgets a little bit. So again, widgets, I mean, plugins are things that are enabling you to do additional stuff when you're inside the WordPress platform. Widgets are things that are visible on your page. So the 2014 has a lot of widgets here. I would probably ask you to simply go in, and you can go from here too if you're viewing the site. You can go right to widgets, but from the dashboard it's in Appearance Widgets. So Appearance Widgets, I would ask you to maybe put something like, stick the meta in the footer area, and stick the search in the content sidebar instead of the primary sidebar. I'll probably just ask you to move some stuff around a little bit. And I might even ask you to take something out of here that isn't in there yet and throw it in there. I won't ask you to add any new widgets because these are things that it all changes according to the theme that you choose. And this is why we take a test in WordPress that just tests you on the very simple process of getting WordPress running and cranking out a few posts and pages and doing a little bit of stuff to them. Because after this, you guys are all going to pick your own themes, and everything's going to be different for every student. So I don't want to go too far with this. So I'll just get you doing a little bit of widget work. You will have already done this when you created your pages, and we just covered that as well. So once everything's done, you're going to be turning in 3 things, and you are going to have to know how to zip. So once again, as I did with the other skills, I have some instructions here on how to zip and compress in Windows and on a Mac, and I'll demonstrate it in Windows here in this video. So 3 things. You're going to have a folder full of screenshots. Mine's sitting here. Send a compressed zip folder. Okay? And I'm having you turn these things in separately because there might be a situation where you couldn't even get one of the things, and I don't want to have one folder. So you get to turn things in one at a time, and then you can get as much credit as you can. So there's a screenshot zip folder. And this is going to be a final step. Don't forget about that WordPress folder that you took out of there. And the test will tell you to do this too. It's not going to just leave you hanging there. Go into the C drive, go to XAMPP, go to Application XAMPP in your Mac, get to HD Docs, and find that Section 1 folder. Okay, take this folder and send that to compressed zip folder. And you can leave this set up in here. as your test. Just leave it, because I might need to look at something afterwards, and the test will provide such instructions as well. Send a compressed zip. Okay, and you can see I've already done this once with section 3 there. That's not the one we need, so take that, maybe throw it on your desktop so it's ready to put in the Dropbox. And then finally, at the very end here, you are doing something brand new that you haven't done before. Go back to localhost. So if you've closed it already, go back to localhost, go to phpMyAdmin, go to databases, and click on the database that you just used to run your WordPress site for the test. When you click on it, a bunch of stuff like this should come up. This is your don't mess with any of this stuff. Just go to this button right here that says export. Export the database. Don't change any of the settings here. Just leave everything as is and hit go. When you do this, it'll prompt you to save a file. Throw that one on your desktop, and that is how I'm going to be able to access your site. Okay, so this is also extremely important. So this, and this are the 3 things you're going to have to turn in at the end of the test. And then also at the end of the test, I would move your WordPress folder back in there. So take your WordPress folder, move it back into htdocs, and of course, just as easily as you broke the link and turned it off, now when I go to localhost/WordPress, it's back on again. Yes, okay, good. All right, and another reason I'm having you do that is because I do not want you using that and somehow turning that into the test. That is completely unacceptable. So if you don't have the screenshot that shows me you've moved that out of there, and I'll probably ask you to take another screenshot at the end of the test that includes the clock that shows me that it's still out. I mean, you could really, there's ways around this, guys. I know that. But I'm going to know anyway, because what the files that are in here, as much as you may think it's exactly the same because using the 2014 theme, I have built something into the theme that you downloaded from FOL that is completely different, and you guys are not going to know what it is. And if you don't use that theme, you're going to get a 0. Okay, it's that simple. So that's the entire test. I did not manage to do that in less than 45 minutes, which is insane. But it's because I need to talk you guys through all the areas that might be trouble, and I really, really hope that you spend the time to watch this before the test, because I've gone through everything we've covered in classes and a couple extra things, and this is what's going to help you get through this test. And you're allowed to watch it during the test too. I just think to come into the test without knowing what you're doing, you're not going to have enough time. If you know what you're doing coming into this test, you should finish it in less than an hour. Because I could have finished this way faster if I wasn't talking the whole time. So that's the test review. You know when your test is. Unless you have advanced permission, I will be expecting to see you at your test time, unless you have advanced permission to do something else. So thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.